armourer's duties on fighter aircraft may be roughly divided into two main groups. First, the high-speed rearming of fighters actively engaged against the enemy. Second, the 101 jobs of inspection and maintenance of armament which make for the quick rearm. It is possible to rearm a fighter and have it in the air within 8 minutes of landing. 10 minutes is a good average time, and a rearm should never take more than a quarter of an hour. During that short period, some 8 men will do their respective jobs. Rearming really begins when the fighters take off in search of battle. These Spitfires will be away for anything from 20 minutes to 2 hours. And during that time, the ground crew will make everything spot ready for a quick turnaround when the fighters get back. The men in charge of refueling will take their tanker away for replenishment. Here is a fitter pumping oil into convenient containers, which will enable him to replenish his aircraft with the least possible delay. The instrument repairer sees that his oxygen bottles are properly filled by testing their pressure. This compressor, which is used to boost up the air pressure in the pneumatic systems of the aircraft, is started up between flights and its engine warmed so as to ensure an easy start if and when required during the rearm. The armourer's duty between flights is to return all empty ammunition tanks and magazines to armoury or other filling points, and then, having drawn replacements, to see that they are complete.
Well, that's what it's for the boys for an hour, sir. We'll get this gear picked up and we'll go for the smoke mark. Okay.
Cleaning rods must not be put on the ground.
Okay. 3 on 3, cleaning rod? 30 millimeters, clean rod?
But this side airman knows better.
That's the lower, okay. Oh, that's good. All right, straight. Hold it there. 50-50, all right, Pat. Start bang. You better put that in your pocket. And the breathing all of that. And a 20 millimeter magazine. Ports have been checked. Yeah, all been checked. Starboard been checked? Yeah. Right, you are. Now it's the three tank. Arming steps all right? Yes, all the arming steps all right. And then, listen to those. Correct. Sure. Gun patches? Okay, good. Here we are. Rubber covers? Rubber covers. And the spare handles for the cannon magazine? What's the lot, North? I think it's going to be all right out here.
The ground crew will usually have finished their preparations for their next turnaround long before the aircraft returns, and are then free to attend to any general routine tasks or to relax. We will leave them to their dock and take a look over the station armoury, where maintenance, testing, and work which does not have to be done in the vicinity of the aircraft is carried out. These airwomen are inspecting belts of machine gun ammunition and making them ready for issue to the squadrons. This ammunition comes to the stations ready belted from the factories, but the varying types of aircraft carry varying quantities of ammunition, and these girls break down or make up the belts to the required length. They put the belts through a machine which correctly positions all rounds in relation to each other and to the length. Finally, they check the position by eye against the edge of the bench. This is done to eliminate the possibility of a badly positioned round causing a feed stoppage. After the final inspection, the belts are reboxed for issue to the squadrons or for placing in reserve. Here is the belting machine. The rounds are put into a hopper at one end and emerge belted at the other. The machine gives good service if properly maintained. It should be kept spotlessly clean and covered when not in use. These men are dealing with machine gun barrels which have been brought in for thorough cleaning. Maintenance of barrels comprises the removal of all fouling and ensures that all barrels in use comply with approved standards. There are three types of fouling: primary, metallic, and erosion. Here you see erosion fouling being removed by hot water, which dissolves the product of cap composition and loosens rust. Primary fouling is easily cleaned in its early stages by cleaning rod and flannelette, but if allowed to remain in the barrel, becomes hardened. Metallic fouling may consist of nickel or copper. Nickeling is best removed by King's Norton solvent, and coppering by a solution of ammonium persulfate, water, and ammonia. Both hardened primary and metallic fouling can be removed with wire gauze. Wire gauze, however, may wear barrels excessively and is only to be used with the permission of an armament officer. The corporal here is examining barrels for metallic fouling. He then uses a gauge. If the gauge passes through a barrel, the barrel is all right. But if the gauge is stopped, there is fouling which must be removed.
Yes, the barrel, I'll make it down there, that ain't from another.
Should I get the cord next, shall we?
No, I think that's the other one, that's the first. Have it down there, okay?
Yes, Corporal?
I've got a barrel here, sir, it's been rather badly nickeled up. Can you have a look at it, please?
Let me see it. Yeah, it's still pretty bad. Use gauze on a double pour through.
Oh, yes, sir.
And don't forget to see that the armour use a muzzle and chamber guide. Otherwise, we're going to have cold-warm barrel.
Oh, yes, sir. Sure. There's a job for you later, you've got to get home with the help in. Here, what the armour doctor said. When we finish with the gauze, fill the barrel up with K&S ammonia solution, and let it stand for 20 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Then empty it out, fill the barrel up with straight solution of K&S, and let that stand for further 20 minutes. If it runs clear, wash the barrel out in boiling water and bring it back to me for further inspection.
What's that, Will?
In accordance with instructions just received, the armourer proceeds to clean the barrel with gauze. He inserts a double pull-through to which the wire gauze has already been attached. Notice that before starting the actual gauzing, he oils the gauze. Then, with the aid of an assistant, the gauze is pulled backwards and forwards through the barrel until the armourer is satisfied that the fouling is cleared. He attaches a piece of 4x2 and has that pulled through the barrel to remove any scraps of metal left loose by the gauze. That done, he takes more 4x2 and applies it vigorously with the cleaning rod. Finally, he repeats the dose, after which the barrel should be ready for its King's Norton treatment to remove nickel which the gauze has not reached. In applying King's Norton treatment, a rubber tube, securely corked at one end, is slipped over the muzzle of the barrel. King's Norton solution, which should be well shaken up before use, is poured into the barrel. The barrel is then put into a rack to stand for 20 minutes. At the end of that time, the cork is removed and the K&S run out into a bottle. The liquid has become blue, which means that it has removed a certain amount of nickeling from the barrel. The treatment is now repeated until the K&S runs out clear, when the armourer knows that all nickel has been removed from the barrel. Here is the corporal gauging some more barrels. This time he finds evidence of copper fouling, and we shall hear him instruct an armourer accordingly.
Yes, there's a barrel for you to do here. Fill the barrel up with ammonium sulfate solution, then let it stand for 3 hours. Wash it out, clean it, wash it out again, then thoroughly dry it and bring it back to me for further inspection. Right.
Here is an armourer assembling clean, serviceable barrels and barrel extensions. That is, breeching up, which must be carefully done, for if cartridges are not properly supported in the chamber, separated cases will cause serious gun stoppages. The armourer has loosely assembled the barrel to the barrel extension. Now he adds a stripped breech block to the assembly and engages the locking piece. He makes quite certain that the locking piece is engaging properly by allowing it to disengage and engage again. Now, holding the locking piece in engagement with its recess in the breech block, he screws home the barrel till it just touches the cartridge guides on the face of the breech block and engages the barrel locking spring. Should a locking notch on the barrel not happen to be in line with the locking spring, he engages the next notch back, not forward. He makes sure that the locking piece will engage and disengage freely with the breech block when the barrel is locked in position. He now puts his assembly into the breech and barrel casings to ensure that it goes home fully. If it does not go home fully, he has over-breeched and must set the barrel back by 1 notch before testing again. Here is a case of under-breeching clearly revealed by excessive play between barrel and breech block. Remember, a separated case due to under-breeching is inexcusable. Here is an armourer and his mate engaged in removing recoiling portions in the course of a daily inspection. The method of carrying out this part of the DI varies according to circumstances. If the aircraft must be kept operational, spare recoiling portions will be substituted for the original ones, so the dirty parts can be cleaned without the aircraft being unoperational for more than a few minutes at a time. If the aircraft will definitely not be required for a period of an hour, no substitution of parts will be made, but the original recoiling portions will be withdrawn, cleaned, inspected and replaced in their guns. In either case, the scene of the cleaning will be dictated by the facilities available on the aerodrome and may be carried out in the open, beside the aircraft itself, in a dispersal hut or tent, in a squadron armoury, or in a station armoury. Here is a pair of cannon coming into the armoury for their weekly wash and brush up. It is obviously not possible to make a daily exchange of barrels and breech blocks of the 20mm cannon, but at least once a week the complete cannon is removed for thorough cleaning and inspection in the armoury. Every part of these cannons must now be thoroughly cleaned and examined for excessive wear or defects. All burrs must be removed from gun body and breech block assembly, and worn or defective components replaced. Before being passed out to the flights, the service cannon will be rechecked by the Armament NCO. Here is an armourer inspecting 20mm ammunition. During his inspection, the armourer looks for and rejects all rounds whose projectiles are loosely held, which have loose fuses, that are distorted in any way, or may have any other defect. Here are some of the rounds which have been rejected. Some defects, such as that loose fuse, are obvious. The rejected rounds will subsequently be inspected by an armament NCO who will finally decide whether they are to be used or not. After inspection, the armourer passes the rounds to his mate for loading into cannon magazines. You will notice that the man loading the magazine takes the weight of the magazine spring with a tommy bar as he inserts each round and then allows the follower of the magazine, impelled by the spring, to bring each round fully up into the lips again before he inserts the subsequent round. This is to ensure that each round moves freely in the magazine and that the follower correctly positions each round in the mouth and lips of the magazine. The armourer now places the magazine on its side and eases the spring. This releases the tension on the rounds and allows them all to drop into position. Tension is now applied to the booster. The booster cover is replaced. And finally, the lot numbers and dates of the ammunition are marked on the casing of the magazine so that the origin of defective ammunition can be ascertained readily. This other entry on the magazine casing shows what tension had previously been put on the magazine spring itself and the date on which the magazine was last checked and found correct. Here is an armourer actually checking the tension on a magazine spring with a Tommy bar and spring balance. You will notice that the Tommy bar is slotted exactly 12 inches from the point where it connects with the axis of the magazine. This is to ensure accuracy when the tension of the magazine spring is tested, the weight given on the scale of the spring balance representing foot-pounds. These men are preparing belts for belt-fed cannons. The armourer's assistant selects links and tests them by placing them in engagement and seeing that they are not distorted and are free from burrs. Links which fail to pass this test must be rejected, and the serviceable links are passed to the armourer. Links must be kept oiled to prevent rust. In no circumstances may rusty links be used in making up belts. The armourer places the links in position on the locally made belt filling machine, pushing them along the chute as he inserts each round into the belt. At this stage, the belt is made up in short lengths for convenience. It is important that the rounds are inserted the correct distance. Each round must be pushed home until the nose comes up against the stop plate. A special type of closed link is used for the end of the belt. Cannon belts are also made up with a belting machine similar to that used for machine gun ammunition. The position of each cartridge in the belt is carefully checked, and in this operation a small locally made metal gauge is used. The distance from the base of the cartridge to the front edge of the double loop must be 3.80 inches. Rounds which do not gauge correctly are tapped into position and checked. Only rubber hammers are used and the rounds tapped carefully, care being taken not to strike the cap. The belt is then tested for flexibility by lifting the end loop and drawing the belt back over itself. In this operation, any faulty links will cause the belt to kink instead of folding over smoothly. Any link which does not hinge freely must be replaced by another and the test repeated. The belt is tested for oversized links by holding it vertically and twisting it. If the belt breaks due to a link jumping off a round, the faulty link must be replaced by another and all tests repeated. The belt feed mechanism is carefully tested by pressing down on the rack roller. The rack should move in until the roller is flushed with the front cover and should spring back freely when released. When the rack is depressed, the sprocket assembly should rotate and the click of the tensioning ratchet pawl should be heard. The tensioning ratchet is rotated with the spanner and the sprocket assembly should rotate in the direction of feed only. The relative direction of rotation will vary with right hand and left hand mechanisms. The link chute opening is examined for fouling or damage. One section of belt is fed into the mechanism with the double loop of the link leading, and the tensioning ratchet is rotated until the first round in the belt comes up against the inside of the lips of the feed opening. the links of the first rounds fed into the mechanism are extracted from the link chute. Tension is put on the mechanism by rotating the tensioning ratchet with a spanner until the slipping clutch comes into play. The slipping clutch prevents damage to the spring by overwinding. The chute door is then locked with copper wire. This is important as the door may vibrate open during flight. A special spring clip may also be used, but it is found to be less reliable than wire. The remaining section of belt is joined on and the joint carefully gauged. It is then stowed in the box. The section of belt with a special end link is fed into the ammunition box and carefully stowed. The belt should lie evenly with no kinks. Here is a Hurricane with belt-fed cannon being reloaded. The reloading of belt-fed cannon is, of course, different from the magazine process. The wing panels, empty ammunition box, and belt feed mechanism are removed. The loaded mechanism and ammunition box are then fitted and the mechanism belt joined to that in the box. This joint is then carefully gauged. Harmonization, or the arrangement of aircraft guns and of the gun sight, so that the guns will give the optimum bullet pattern at the correct range, and that the point of impact will be intersected by the line of sight at that range, is one of the armor's most important duties, since no pilot has a reasonable chance of destroying an enemy unless his guns and sight are so adjusted. Harmonization must therefore always be done by a responsible NCO and the work checked by the pilot concerned. Many factors affect harmonization, such as the type of aircraft involved, its armament, the purpose for which it is to be used, the effect of gravity on the trajectories of the guns, and the distance between the guns and the gun sight. These problems, however, are not the armorer's problems, but will be calculated by the command armament officer, who will issue detailed instructions and an appropriate harmonization diagram for each type of aircraft in his command. For convenience, harmonization is usually done at the reduced distance of 50 yards instead of at the full range. The harmonization diagram may be painted on a convenient wall, or a portable harmonization stand, such as you see here, which can be taken to dispersal points, may be used. Each machine gun, cannon, the cine-camera gun, and the gun sight is aligned onto one of these discs. The discs are painted in different colors to make it easy for the NCO to identify them when he is looking through a gun barrel at 50 yards distance. The first thing in preparing for harmonization is to see that the ground is level. The sight having been carefully selected, the aeroplane is jacked up, clear of the ground, and leveled both laterally and fore and aft. To adjust the level laterally, the NCO places a spirit level or inclinometer in the cockpit on a straight edge. He then directs his assistant to adjust the attitude of the aircraft until lateral level is obtained. Fore and aft level is found in a similar manner, with the spirit level on the datum line of the aircraft. The tail is then raised or lowered until the aeroplane is level. The fore and aft axis of the aeroplane must be at right angles to the harmonization stand or wall. Otherwise, one wing would be nearer to the stand than the other. To obtain this position, plumb bobs are hung from the nose and tail of the aeroplane. When these plumb bobs hang in line with the vertical sighting line on the harmonization stand, the fore and aft axis of the aeroplane is at right angles to the stand. The datum gun or guns must be at the correct angle as laid down for the type of aircraft and on the horizontal sighting line. The angle of the datum guns, in this case the cannons, is checked by means of the inclinometer. Any necessary vertical adjustment is made by the movement of the whole aircraft, which must be kept level. Beginning with the cannon, the guns are now aligned to their discs. When aligning a gun on an aiming disc, the appropriate disc must appear concentric in the bore. Adjustments to cannon are made by an assistant who moves the gun as directed by the NCO. In harmonizing cannon with this type of front mounting, care must be taken not to alter fore and aft adjustment, since such alteration would affect the functioning of the cannon. When the cannon is correctly aligned with its disc, it is carefully locked in position. The NCO will next harmonize the other cannon, after which he will go to the Browning guns. The cine camera gun is aligned on its appropriate disc by a photographer. Having finished the guns, the NCO adjusts the sight, and in doing so must see that the center dot of the sight is dead on the center of the gun sight disc. When satisfied, he will lock the sight. Excessive force must never be used when locking gun sights, since this might damage the range bar mechanism and even the graticules. When all harmonization is completed, a final check must be made by the pilot. First, he checks the alignment of the plumb lines with the vertical sighting line. He then checks the levels on the inclinometer. He now checks the alignment of the guns on the aiming discs. Now this one is slightly out, and he has it corrected. When all guns are completely aligned, they are locked with a wire. The locking is then checked by the NCO. Finally, the pilot goes to the cockpit and checks his sight. He finds it okay. Well, there's one pilot happy in the knowledge that his bullets will go where he aims them. The main purpose of this film is to show the quick turnaround of aircraft actively engaged against the enemy. The first thing done when fighters return and taxi to their dispersal points is for the armourers to find out from the pilot that the gun firing controls are safe. Having obtained safe from the pilot, the armourer and his mate remove gun and cannon panels. The armourer works on top of the wings, his mate underneath. After removing all panels from the port wing, the armourer, assisted by his mate, will clear the Browning guns. After helping to clear the 2 machine guns, the armourer's mate goes to the cockpit, where he holds the cannon cocking lever in the cocked position, while the armourer clears the cannon and removes cannon magazines. It is important in the interests of safety that the cocking lever should be held at cocked while the magazine is being removed. The mate then takes the empty magazine from the armourer, and the 2 proceed to the other wing where the clearing process is repeated. While they are thus engaged, we will take a look at some of the other men concerned with the turnaround. Here is a rigger whose job is to carry out a quick between-flights inspection and to look for any damage caused by enemy fire. An electrician makes a quick check over and replenishes anything necessary. Here he is fitting a new battery. A wireless mechanic checks radio equipment and satisfies himself that all is in working order. This photographer is reading the cine camera footage indicator in the cockpit. If film has been exposed, he takes out the used magazine and fits a new one. Oxygen empties are removed by the instrument repairer and full bottles fitted. By now, guns and cannon on the other wing have been cleared. And the armourer reports, guns clear, which means work may proceed in front of the guns. On receipt of guns clear, the armourer's assistant cleans the gun barrels with lightly oiled flannelette. He oils the 4x2 with the cleaning oil which he carries with him. He works the oil well into the flannelette before attacking the barrels. The tanker comes in to replenish petrol supplies under the supervision of the fitter. In the foreground, the armourer's mate is cleaning the starboard machine guns. After cleaning all 4 machine guns, the armourer's mate will fit clean 4x2 to his cleaning rod and dry the barrels. It must always be remembered that the turning round of fighter aircraft is an operational measure and must not be confused with or substituted for normal inspection and maintenance. For example, that armourer's assistant using his cleaning rod on those machine guns knows that he's not removing all the foulings from the barrels, and that when the aircraft is released from operations, all those barrels and the rest of the recording portions will have to be removed from the guns for thorough cleaning and inspection. However, by using his cleaning rod, he is removing a certain amount of fouling, which is easy to shift now, but which will be much harder to remove if left till the end of the day. He is also ensuring beyond doubt that there is no obstruction in any of the barrels. Having thoroughly cleaned and dried the machine gun barrels, the armourer's mate repeats the process with the cannon barrels. This view of the armourer is not presented for your amusement, but to point out the rubber boots he is wearing for the protection of wing surfaces. The performance of aircraft can be reduced by dents and scratches. The armourer is wiping off the breech blocks, breechways and barrel extensions of the Browning guns. As sludge accumulates when the guns are fired, this is important. After wiping off, he applies a light smear of anti-freezing oil mixed with an equal proportion of paraffin as a lubricant. The armourer's mate, having cleaned the cannon barrels with oil, changes the flannelette as he did in the case of the machine gun barrels. Notice that he takes 8 sections of 4x2. Meanwhile, the armourer has cleaned and oiled the recoiling portions of the remaining gun and moves over to the port cannon, where he wipes off and lightly re-lubricates the breech block guides, breech block, and breech way. The armourer is now handed a full magazine by his mate and loads the cannon, while his mate makes sure that no one is standing in the line of fire. He replaces straps and panels, and then may either reload the other cannon or proceed with the Browning guns on the wing on which he is working. The armourer's mate fits full Browning tanks, offering the loading straps to the armourer through the feed chutes. The armourer assists the loading straps through the feedway and then loads the guns, his mate ensuring that no one is in or enters the line of fire. When all guns have been loaded, armourer and mate replace the remaining panels and secure them. The armourer inspects signal cartridges and, if necessary, replaces them. Meanwhile, his mate repatches gun ports. In preparing patches, it is best to tear half the patch away from the gauze on which it is supplied, and then, sticking this half firmly and smoothly over the top of the gun port, to pull the gauze away and affix the lower half of the patch. The armourer now goes to the cockpit to wipe off the reflector sights and inside of the windscreen, to test the sight and check air pressure. If necessary, he will use the air compressor to bring the air pressure up to maximum. When this has been done, the armourer's assistant will report aircraft rearmed to NCO in charge of flight, and with the armourer assist other crews. Finally, empty tanks and magazines will be collected, taken to the refilling point, and all preparations made for the next rearm.